Hey guys, Big Chonis here. Let's take a look at some Bitcoin charts. Weekly chart, still a day left to go. Listen, we've been consolidating in this area here for over a month. We keep putting in these higher lows and higher highs, at least in the candle bodies. Current weekly candle, upper wick here, but we're clearly still flagging. We bring up some other indicators here. I want to start with our Ichimoku cloud. Now I've changed settings 20, 60, 120, 30. And we can see we're maintaining support above the cloud. And remember, initially this was a resistance. We were able to go under it here. And once we were able to reobtain it and back test it, it was just straight through it on the way up. And once we got to the top of it, resistance turned support, turned resistance back to support. And currently on this weekly candle, we are holding that support. Looking at the Bollinger Bands and the weekly, again, we're very wide here on the weekly. You know, we have times where they can tighten up. And we have times when they're incredibly wide here. Now, this can take time, but we can now see our lower Bollinger Band has finally started to turn up after the big move there spread them out, and this will begin to race up here in the coming weeks. Upper Bollinger Band, at least for the weekly, is all the way up to 4,700, and we've been able to crack that numerous times. EMA 12 and 26, these are the EMAs I like to use. And you can see once we're able to break out here and actually hold our bullish thread here, and spread out as the bullish market pulled Bitcoin prices higher, that initial support is under 40K. It has not been even tested since mid-October. It's very strong. And then our MA 50, 100, and 200 here. And for the first time in quite a while, basically it was really when this crosshair happened, that kind of marked the deviation from the 50 being over the 100 being over the 200. Now we got our 50 over our 200 here. Golden crossing potentially, if you will. And then in the coming weeks, at least confirming that, given how high the price action is. And now we have the 100-day moving average, 100-week moving average, finally beginning to turn to the upside here. And this is what you want to see, especially on these longer-term price action here. Once these moving averages were able to consolidate and confirm and to really tighten up here, that's when the spread was able to happen with the price action. So this setup here could be something very similar, that once that was able to, and again, it just takes time. It takes time to basically create that situation. It's very ideal. Either way, these three areas here will act as strong support, and they continue to, rise with the price action. I want to look at some other oscillators here and indicators. We have our MACD. We can clearly see here that we're still, make a little better here, in a very strong uptrend here. Although over the past several weeks here, we've been going lower highs on our histogram. And the spacing of our indicators here is still very wide. You can see there is a little bit of tiredness happening here, but we're over our zero line and we're still printing green histograms. Okay, but we definitely can see a little bit of weakness beginning to emerge here potentially. We can see our on-balance volume, and this is very bullish here. We can see not only are we above this area of major resistance that held through 22 and 23, but when we zoom in here, at least to our weekly, we're now at the highest point on our on-balance volume from a weekly standpoint here. So we had a high, we had a low, this consolidation here, and now we currently have this higher high. Which you could argue was just a breakout, another breakout bullish sign. Look at our RSI here, very strong, 74. This is in that bull zone here. This was our previous resistance at 70. We're able to break above it, get a little too heated here, come back down, but we can see we're actually very strong here. Now, we do have examples of the past where we were able to get up at least past 80, and that can even rocket to over 90 here. What a move that was in January of 2021. And there was the bearish divergence there starting to set up in the Bitcoin RSI price action here. So anything, we have weeks to maintain this RSI strength, which is a very key factor there. Something of interest here. This is our squeeze momentum indicator here, and we're still building these green shoots here as we continue to climb up the mountain here. Now, what's very interesting, I think, about this indicator is very rare that when you flip to the darker green, that you flip back to the lighter green. Once we flip back there to the darker green, it went bearish. Once we flip back to the darker green, it went bearish. Flip back here. We did have this 1 week of sideways consolidation that was a little tricky there, but we continued on to the bearish move there. We haven't flipped that dark green yet. So the first week where that actually does confirm, and it might be this week depending upon where our price action ends, that would be a notable sign of a slight change in direction there. Looking at our stochastic RSI, now this is kind of interesting here. We have several examples where we actually double touch our top here, right? We get up here a little high, come back down, don't go too far down, curve back up around and retouch here for a bullish continuation, bullish continuation, bullish continuation. We have other examples where this either stays up here for very long or just fails nonetheless. Because both indicators now are currently under this 80, that is notable. But we've done that before. We got as low as 60 here. We got as low as about 80 and 83 here. So this is what we have to watch here. As soon as this potentially bull crosses, that's a big sign there that we could actually go our way back up to that 100 area here. So this will be a very interesting thing from a weekly standpoint. I'm going to keep an eye on here, especially if we can get that cross. If this doesn't cross, going lower, and that would basically translate into that bearish price action there. So this is where Bitcoin stands. I want to get a couple more charts in regards to Bitcoin price action as a whole. I did want to bring up everybody's favorite chart, the CME here, and the gaps that are still prevalent in the chart. All the gaps currently are under the price action, and the CME closed in the 44.4s on Friday. Now, we had a couple recent ones here. This was our opening gap last weekend, and we were actually able to fill that pretty quick. But we have several gaps on the way up that are currently recently been opened, and there's several more I feel that are potentially a little bit lower. And listen, all gaps get filled because all gaps have got filled all the way in the previous cycles here. Again, this is the CME futures. I use the 4-hour chart. I have historic reasons why that is the case. But currently all the gaps that are open are below the price action, and we'll have to see Sunday night, depending upon where we open up, what happens here. Now, we can keep going higher and keep these open for the time being, but I have no doubt that some of these will get filled potentially in the same kind of consolidation period. Doesn't mean we can't go up first. And last chart I want to just focus on real quick is our Bitcoin dominance chart. Where is it? There it is. And it's very interesting because what we've seen over the past several days here is Bitcoin be able to find support, even though structurally it did break. We had basically our previous high, low, higher high, held that, higher high, dipped below it. Get back to our weekly here. But, overall, that structure still can be maintained, even though we did kind of lose that rising line of support. We're able to back test it and actually get back through it there. So this is interesting here. And what this really means is that we're seeing the market value of alts bleed while Bitcoin continues to maintain its stance in the mid 40Ks. That's kind of a risk-off situation here in terms of altcoins, as people are waiting for some sort of definitive move in the ETF news. We could be very close to that, and that's basically why people are just kind of, all right, I'm just chilling with my Bitcoin, right? I'm taking some risk potentially off on the altcoins, at least as we're seeing. I don't need to see what the coins are actually doing. I could just look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. This is basically telling me exactly what's happening here. That safe haven of Bitcoin is basically what's more stronger here than people willing to deploy money into alts as well. So just another quick look here on Bitcoin price action. It's obviously too early in the month to talk about the monthly coins, and the daily candles here pretty much just represent something that we've been in for the past several months here. This consolidation, just like this consolidation, which seemed to take forever, basically was able to have a finality, and this too will in due time. Now we can think about our Fibonacci climbing back up the mountain here. And, historically, we have examples, of course, back in 2019 of when we hit the golden pocket. That could still take Bitcoin up to between the 40K and 50 range. That would be exactly what happened then. But if history doesn't repeat, then two things are going to happen. Either we've already basically reached our topping area, we're not able to get up there. We actually blow past that and get people a little more excited up to the 786 to 84, another region historically where crypto basically has shown to kind of find that either support on the downside or resistance on the upside. But listen, we've regained 50% from all-time highs. That in itself ain't too bad. And we have historic issues about this 50K area, as well as, always look to the left. What is the price action that preceded this in this same area? And you can see we had weeks of chop here, obviously, in the mid 40s back in 2022. This area acted as support here on this big candle down in 2021, and resistance below it, support above it, when there's a lot of history in this area here, and that's proven to be a very stubborn area currently for the weekly candle of Bitcoin price action to bust through. So little weekend uptake here. Wanted to kind of check in on my thoughts on Bitcoin, and obviously because the ETF news, something about it is probably pretty imminent. We're going to see some pretty big volatility happening next week, and as traders, that's what we want to see. So until next time, have a great weekend. The Big Chonis. Talk to you soon.